Hi, and welcome to 15 Minutes with Mike. I'm so excited to add value to you today. I am Mike Wankwa of Apogee Leadership Group, LLC, and today I will be discussing 3 rules for making diversity and inclusion a competitive advantage. We'll do this by first going over a few stats, talk about the 3 rules, and finish with a call to action. McKinsey reported that companies that have embraced diversity and inclusion are 35% more likely to have greater financial returns above the industry median. This was published in 2015. Boston Consulting Group in 2018, they found that companies reported above average diversity on their management team were also the ones who reported innovation revenue that was 19 percentage points higher than that of companies with below average leadership diversity. 45% of total revenue versus 26%. The Harvard Business School did their study. They surveyed 250 businesses, and they found those with a lot of diversity had 18 to 69% greater net income and operating revenue. And in 2017, Inc. magazine embraced a study by a founder and CEO of Wattpad, and he used diversity to enter into new markets. It helped him to go global. He said diversity in the workforce can be your trump card, as it was with him. Well, I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of various stats that says D&I can be a competitive advantage, but how do you embrace it? How do you take advantage of it? How do you equip your team? Well, the first thing I would say for your team members, those who are diverse, be uniquely you. Be uniquely you. Realize that your opinions matter and share them. See, good leaders ask great questions, and your sharing may be in the form of questions. Leadership is influence. Positional power is the least effective form of leadership power. In other words, you can influence from whatever position you occupy. And we first need to embrace the notion of having a sound character so that others will listen, being competent in your role that lends credibility, and having courage to make the tough calls. So let's talk about these in turn. Benjamin Trago, author of The Rational Manager, said the very worst use of time is to do very well what need not be done at all. It reminds me of a conversation I had with my cousin. He's a young adult and he works in this technology company. He writes apps. And they were working on problems, and there were many people that were contributing to the problem. They should have been contributing to the solution, but they were doing a lot of make work activity that was not solving the problem, but they looked busy. So they were able to keep their roles and keep their paycheck coming, but in the end, they were not adding value. Now, to me, that's a character flaw. If you know consciously you're not adding value, but you're trying to justify your being there, then that is a challenge with the character. See, it's important to know what it is that needs to be done and then work toward solving that problem. That leads me to competence. One of the best ways to become competent on the job is to work all the time you're at work. Brian Tracy said the biggest time wasters in the world of work are other people who want to talk with you, distract you, delay you, or take up the time that you should be spending on high-value tasks. Your mantra from now on should be back to work, back to work, back to work. Realizing if you're there for a finite amount of time, use that time wisely and focus on the work that needs to be done. That helps to build your competence in addition to the various trainings that you would take. Have the courage to say no to those who would want to detract you. Have the courage to stay the course. See, effective leaders have courage, and they make courageous decisions. Andy Grove, former CEO of Intel, wrote about strategic inflection points. These are points in time when leaders have to make decisions that could make or break the company. They gather as much information as they can. They hear from their trusted advisors. They carefully weigh the options, and then they make a decision. And whatever the outcome, they take responsibility. For you to become the leader I know you can become, get used to making decisions. And this takes courage. It takes the courage to realize that sometimes you may fail. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Don't be afraid to fail. If you never fail, you're not taking risk. And if you're not taking risk, you're not stretching yourself. If you're not stretching yourself, you're not growing. Growth means learning new things. And there is a lot to learn, even in and maybe especially in failure. The question is not, will I get knocked down? The question is, will I get back up and try again after I get knocked down? Will I learn from the process, the failure? So learn, grow, and watch your influence increase. And as your influence increases, so will your leadership capability. But growth takes intentionality. John Maxwell stated, remember, growing is not a goal, but a lifelong process that must start with being intentional. There's an old adage that reads, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. When you are intentional about growing, you will see growth opportunities everywhere. And that's where Apogee can help. So be uniquely you by continuously growing, learning from each experience, embracing a sound character, growing in competence and courage, making decisions, and share your opinions, even if they're in the form of a question. Look, you're different anyway, so be uniquely you and showcase what it is you have on the inside of you. Now, it's important to also know the culture. Know your culture. Captain Michael Abrahoff, former commander of the USS Benfold, said, the whole secret of leading a ship or managing a company is to articulate a common goal that inspires a diverse group of people to work hard together. So I want to encourage you to read and learn your company's vision statement, the mission statement, know the published values if there are any, research the company's strategy and objectives, and if you're in a public company, read the manager's discussion and analysis from the annual report of Form 10-K. These documents will give you a good sense of what the organization says it's all about. For some companies, these statements are more aspirational and have yet to be realized. As such, for you to be successful, for me to be successful, we need to know the culture of our organization. Well, I define culture simply as the measure how things really get done within the organization. But if you want a deeper definition, a more fuller definition, if you will, consider what Investopedia has to say. Corporate culture refers to the beliefs and behaviors that determine how companies, employees, and management interact and handle outside business transactions. Often, corporate culture is implied but not expressly defined and develops organically over time from the cumulative traits of the people the company hires. A company's culture will be reflected in its dress code, business hours, office setup, employee benefits, turnover, hiring decisions, treatment of clients, client satisfaction, and every other aspect of operations. You see, corporate culture is a reflection of the collective values of the individual. So if you want to be a significant contributor to the success of your organization, it is imperative that you know how the company defines itself via its published statements, and how the company is really defined via its corporate culture. And if they are different, the successful individual will navigate both and serve as a link, if you will, in connecting the aspirational with the reality. Like an iceberg, we can see what's on the surface, the vision, the mission statement, purpose statement. However, if we cannot ascertain what's beneath the surface, the culture, we risk being a modern-day Titanic. If only the Titanic could have navigated the seen and unseen icebergs in its path. If you commit to your personal growth, be a student of your organization. Understand both the espoused beliefs, the published statements, and the underlying assumptions, values, and core beliefs, the culture. Make sure you know your organization and make sure you know the culture. So be uniquely you, know the organization and the culture, and then adjust your communication style. See, not everyone communicates the same. According to the DISC personality assessment, there are 4 main quadrants: dominant, influencing, steady, and compliant. Do you know which one you fall into? See, the first person we must examine is ourselves. That's the mirror principle according to John Maxwell. If our self-perception is distorted, then our attempts to influence others will be misguided and even manipulative. The first person I must know is myself. This brings self-awareness. The first person I must get along with is myself. This leads to a healthy self-image. The first person to cause me problems is, yes, you got it right, myself. And admitting truth yields self-honesty. And the first person I must change is myself. This empowering attitude paves the way to self-improvement. So we need to know ourselves, and we need to know those we engage. See, some people are more task-oriented versus people-oriented. Others more outgoing versus reserved. And if we had a manager, someone we had to bring a problem to or report to, we would do it differently for the dominant who wants the facts, get right to the point, versus the influencing, paint me a picture, more emotional, and the compliant who accurate, analytical, and the stable or the steady who's the team player, the reserved person. So let's have an example. So I'm an employee going to my manager about a decision that I have to make concerning A, B, or C. So I go to the dominant manager and I say, I have examined options A, B, and C. Both B and C are equally promising. A does not cut it. If I had to choose today, I would go with B. However, I wanted to get your input before making a final decision. That's the dominant style. They want the facts right away. The influencing manager, I go to her and I say, I have examined options A, B, and C. Both B and C are equally promising. However, I feel as though C would excite the people the most. I think we can really rally the troops behind this one. What do you envision? Can you see yourself painting a picture of what's possible if we go with C? They like the big picture. They like the emotional aspect, the visionary. Now going to the compliant manager, I will say, I have examined options A, B, and C. Both B and C are equally promising. A does not make it because of these 4 points. B has these 3 attributes that could really benefit the organization. The one drawback is X. C has these 4 attributes that could also benefit the organization. Its one drawback is Y. I've done an analysis that shows either decision would yield the same outcome. Before deciding, I wanted to check with you to ascertain if I missed anything or if I should be measuring something else. See, that's the analytical. They want all of the facts. And then the last manager, the steady personality, I will say, I have examined options A, B, and C. Both B and C are equally promising. A could possibly work, but I don't think it would give us any tangible benefits. That leaves B and C. And I'm not sure how the team would respond to this. And this is why I wanted to get your input. I wanted to make sure this is good for everybody. What do you think? So it's the same. I'm discarding A and I'm embracing B and C, but I am presenting it differently depending on the personality style of my leader or my manager. I'm trying to make a connection with them. I'm trying to communicate better with them. You see, everyone communicates, but few connect. And as a diverse individual, you need to be able to make connections. It's important for all of us to do it, but especially those of a different background. And this is where the DISC method could help. Here's how we could help you. So we want you, as I go to the call to action, to be uniquely you. Embrace your differences and bring it so that you can contribute to the overall success of your organization. But you do that by knowing the organization and knowing the culture, the unwritten code that takes place within the company. And thirdly, adjust your communication style so you can make a connection with those with whom you engage. So, are you ready to make a difference right where you are? Who will help you? Do you have a personal growth plan? Well, if you're ready to take action, you're really ready to grow in your success trajectory, contact us. My email address is on the screen. Or you can call the office at 216-766-5724. Or you can even call my personal mobile number at 216-505-0254. Hey, come and visit us at apogeeleader.com and see the offerings we have. It's been great being with you. See you at the top at the